She's the editor-in-chief of Bon Appetit magazine. During her 30-year tenure at the magazine and 9 years as editor-in-chief, she's won 3 James Beard Awards. Her cookbook that you just saw a nice presentation of won the ICP Cookbook Award for Bon Appetit Fast, Easy, Fresh. Ladies and gentlemen, from Bon Appetit magazine, Barbara Fairchild. And here at UCLA, where she's a grad, she needs no introduction, but she is the host of Everyday Italian, Giada at Home, Giada's Weekend Paradise, which I feel like I'm in right now. She's the author of Everyday Italian, Everyday Pasta, and the brand new Giada's Kitchen. Please give a warm welcome, Giada De Laurentiis.
Don't sit on the microphone.
Thanks for coming, you guys. It's so nice.
I'm Barbara, or for purposes of this interview, you could just call me Chop Liver. I don't even think I have to be here.
Barbara's actually a really big deal, you guys.
Thank you.
I'm honored to have her.
Well, I want to tell you a little bit of a short story before we start the interview, but Giada and I actually have a little history together too. When she was just sort of starting out in her career, we were looking for somebody to do a pasta story for us in the magazine, and I had seen Giada on the Food Network and had been hearing a lot about her and had met her at a couple of events, and of course instantly thought she was fantastic. And those of you who get Bon Appetit for a long time, her pasta recipe that was on the cover of the April 2006 issue, I think it was, 5 or 6. Judy Strasberg, our copy editor's out here, she would know. It was the only time in my 9 years so far in counting as editor-in-chief that I've ever put anybody's picture on the cover of the magazine for the newsstand people, and we sold a lot, so thank you. And when it came time for us to do a presentation for Condé Nast Publications, they asked me to find someone who was a celebrity who I felt really was the celebrity manifestation of what we do at our magazine every month. Giada was immediately the person who I thought of, and she very kindly agreed to do that as well, so thank you for that. And that kind of brings me to, I think, why we have so many thousands of people here today for her, is that, you know, what Giada has brought to not just Food Network, but certainly for purposes of today, her cookbooks, is ease of use and accessibility, certainly her wonderful personality. And I think that most people here obviously realize that you are the granddaughter of the great Dino De Laurentiis, but I'm not sure how many people know that you grew up in Rome, and that, you know, I know when you and I first got to know each other, you talked about cooking for all those people who were in his films, that he would make you cook for them. Is that right? Or not?
No. No, I grew up cooking with my grandfather, and early on, I started cooking when I was about 5 years old. And then my grandfather opened a gourmet shop here when I was very young. I was about 10.
DDL
yes.
Food Show, right?
Yes, and there he basically brought chefs that he knew from Naples, which is where he's from, and I would cook with them. And that's how I learned.
Did you think your career was going to go in this direction, or was it just something you liked to do?
Oh, no. No. And especially for anybody that comes from an Italian family, you know that good Italian girls grow up, get married, have a bunch of children, and that's about all that they do. And that's fine. But I realized early on that I kind of wanted to do something a little different. And most of my family members are in the movie business.
Right.
You know, most of my family doesn't stray from that particular industry. So for me to have strayed and also to do something that, you know, takes a lot of manual labor, because when you work in a restaurant, where I did for a while, it is really labor intensive, and I'm a little person, so my family was very worried about me trying to lift pots and pans and doing all of the heavy lifting that you do when you work in a kitchen. So I think that's why they were quite nervous. But it's been, I could never have imagined this. I don't think anybody could have.
No, I think, well, certainly what the Food Network has brought to all of us who, enjoy food and love cooking and going to restaurants and traveling and all those things and drinking, all those things we get to do. When I talk about the 4 mega trends that have changed the way we cook and eat, the Food Network is at the top of the list. I mean, who could have foresaw, even at the outset of the Food Network, how important it's become? And what do you think that the Food Network does well? I mean, what do you think that is its big advantage?
I think what the Food Network has done amazingly is basically make food accessible, any kind of food. What they do is they find people who are passionate about what they do and that somehow can teach, because that's the tricky part about being on Food Network or just being any kind of teacher.
Right.
You have to inspire people somehow, and I don't know what exactly the criteria is for that. I think people ask me all the time, well, how do you know if you have that? I don't know. I think it's a way of making food accessible, making it fun, making it hip, because I think for a long time people felt like if they had to be in the kitchen to cook, it was boring. They just wanted to get it over with. And I think now people like spending time in the kitchen.
Right.
They're interested in produce, they're interested in grocery shopping, they're interested in ingredients, and I think Food Network has done an amazing job at bringing that to the forefront and making it fun.
Do you find that the nature of the questions that you get when you go to appearances like this and you sign books or you do a cooking demo, do you think the questions have changed over the last 5 years? The types of questions or the sophistication level, or?
Definitely. People are asking about ingredients that I think 5 years ago they didn't even know what they were. I think that's also because they're interested, but also because it's easier to find a lot of ethnic ingredients that you couldn't find. When I was growing up in Los Angeles, I moved to the States when I was 8 years old. So my parents, cooking Italian food, basically had to import everything, or at least travel quite a distance to find the ingredients to make the traditional Italian dishes. Like, for instance, I love mascarpone cheese.
Nowhere.
Years and years ago?
Nowhere.
No.
Yeah.
No, there was no way. My grandfather would bring it back when he would go to Italy, or any of the family members would bring it back, or they'd have, the small Italian delis special order it, something like that. But now you can find it at the local grocery store.
Right.
So that's where I think it's changed so much, and that's why people ask wonderful questions,
Do you think there's a food, like mascarpone was, 5 or 10 years ago, that's something special that you still find in Italy that you couldn't find here, that you might want to smuggle back when you go on vacation?
Well, there's some amazing salumi that still don't exist here for numerous reasons, and they still will take them, when you go through customs, if they find them. But there are also some fantastic cheeses. There's some pastas that we don't have here that are phenomenal. Textures that are completely different. Flavors that are different. I think it also has to do with the water and the flour.
That was my next question.
They're completely different there than they are here. That's why you can bring as much as you can of Italy here and make it and reproduce it, but it'll never really be 100% like going there.
Right.
It's just not possible.
When you came back, when you moved here, full-time after growing up in Italy, were you, and your mother was doing the cooking at that point, or you were helping out? Did you find the stuff tasted different and that bothered you, or?
I think I was very young, so I didn't really know. My parents still speak to this day about how the food tastes different. Yeah.
Well, how did you get involved with the restaurants?
With my grandfather's?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what happened is we lived in Beverly Hills. The place was in Beverly Hills. And so my parents would go and sort of run some things for my grandfather. So we'd go after school and hang out. And little by little, we would want to hang out more and more. It's really fun. And by the way, you don't have to do your homework, so it's great. Yeah. And you get to hang out with all these really cool people, in my opinion. I loved to eat. I loved to cook. And it was just fascinating to watch how fascinated everybody was when they walked into the place. Just the oohs and the ahs and the smiling faces and the energy level. It was something that just got me all excited.
Yeah. Well, they were transported. That's why they
were.
Maybe they have been
and they
to
hadn't
Italy.
seen it. You know, this was before the time of the Dina DeLucas and all the gourmet shops that we now know today. It was before all that, and you know.